Okay kan, kita boleh start. Kan ada connecting lagi ni. Okay, kita tunggu some of the participants still connecting to the session.
Give them about 5 minutes lah kot.
Okay.
Nanti check tengok.
You can see from here, some still connecting.
So you're loading the PowerPoint, you're loading lah kan?
We will control the PowerPoint, Prof.
Okay.
Alright. Alright, okay. Ada few still loading.
Padi sihat?
Sihat, Alhamdulillah. Betul. Dah boleh keluar.
Terengganu. Terengganu dah left group dah.
Dah left group kita admin. Selangor KL admin group tak boleh keluar kan. PKPB. Ramai Okay.
So far I think okay lah kot.
So far okay lah. Dia quite ni kan, tertumpu pada tempat. Okay, alright. Saya rasa semua dah nampak ni semua dah okay. Semua dah masuk dalam ke dalam meeting room kita. Okay, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. Saya Muhammad Fardi, Pegawai Eksekutif daripada Yayasan Penyelidikan Antarctica Support, moderator untuk hari ini. Jadi mewakili YPASM, saya mengucapkan terima kasih dan selamat datang kepada semua peserta sesi perkongsian dana penyelidikan YPASM Smart Partnership Initiative Kitaran kedua. Jadi seperti semua sedia maklum, jadi pihak Yayasan Penyelidikan Antarctica Support telah membuat hibahan untuk menjemput kertas cadangan projek. Kita telah buat call for proposal untuk penyelidikan pola bagi tahun hadapan tahun 2021 kepada 8 universiti yang terlibat dalam inisiatif Smart Partnership Kitaran kedua. Jadi sesi ini akan membincangkan bidang keutamaan dalam penyelidikan pola dan menerangkan dengan lebih lanjut bentuk geran dan bantuan lain yang ditawarkan dalam inisiatif ini. Dan bersama kita juga ada 2 orang penerima dana penyelidikan YPASM yang juga akan turut berkongsi pengalaman memohon, macam mana dia berjaya memohon dana penyelidikan YPASM, dan juga berkongsi sedikit pengalaman berpeluang menyertai ekspedisi ke Antarctica bersama kolaborasi dengan negara-negara lain. Okey, jadi bersama kita pada hari ini panelis pertama kita Profesor Datuk Dr. Azizan Abu Samah, Pengarah National Antarctic Research Center. Kira orang LAM lah, penyelidikan pola Malaysia ni. Okey. Prof. Dr. Azizan juga pernah menjawat jawatan Vice President of the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, SCA, tahun 2015 hingga 2018. Jadi panelis kedua kita Encik Muhammad Nasaruddin Abdul Rahman, Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif YPASM. Dan juga bersama kita pada hari ini adalah 2 penyelidik pola negara, Dr. Hyo Chong Chin dari Fakulti Perubatan Universiti Teknologi Mara, Teo, dan pemegang geran penyelidikan Antarctica tahun 2018. Dan juga turut bersama kita Profesor Madya Dr. Akrimah Ahmad daripada Fakulti Bioteknologi dan Sains Biomolekul Universiti Putra Malaysia. Dr. Akrimah telah menerima Burst Support to Antarctica bersama British Antarctic Survey pada tahun 2016 dan Burst Support to Antarctica through SCA member countries melalui negara Chile bagi tahun 2020 dan juga telah menerima 1 geran penyelidikan YPASM pada tahun 2019. Jadi untuk tidak membuang masa, saya terus ke sesi pertama, bidang keutamaan penyelidikan Antarctica yang akan disampaikan oleh Profesor Datuk Dr. Azizan Abu Samah. Prof, you ada 20 minit. The floor is yours.
Okay.
And slide please.
Tolong buat PowerPoint lah. Kalau boleh. Okey, apa yang saya ingin kongsikan. Am I supposed to talk in Malay or English? Yeah?
Up to you, Prof.
Ah,
Soalan ke apa ke kita boleh in English or in Malay, it's up to you.
okay. Okay. I think I minta maaf. I'll talk in English because my PowerPoint is in English. So before anything else, just to get some perspective of what is the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. Next. So this is the overview. Malaysia started our Antarctic research in 1999 when we had our first expedition, and then Malaysia acceded to the Antarctic Treaty system 31st. So the first thing that I want to inform people who are involved in Malaysian Antarctic Research Program, this is a research program initiated by Cabinet. So it's not initiated by the academics. Actually, it's initiated by Cabinet, and then the first task force was established by the Academy of Science Malaysia, in which the chairman was Tan Sri Saleh, and I was then the coordinator, they call it. Now I'm the director of the National Antarctic Research Program. So the main purpose is with Antarctic research, not polar research, is the fact that Malaysia was interested to join in terms of the management of the Antarctic territory or the Antarctic system. And so one of the way to join the Antarctic treaty system is to have an active scientific research in Antarctic. And our task is to have scientific research so that Malaysia can then be not only a member of the Antarctic Treaty System, but become a consultative party, where we have to have required proof of significant and sustainable science in Antarctica. And that is the task given to the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. And in 2002, I think we established the National Antarctic Research Center to coordinate and basically give it institutional memory so that we can then comply with the directive of Cabinet. Next. So this is not first thing. This is not a university initiated. It's not some researcher punya initiated. This is a Cabinet directive. Okay. So what I think and later on we were very concerned about the political, what you call political will of the government, because it depends very much on the minister. So when we took this Agung to Antarctic, we wrote a paper up to establish the Yayasan Penyelidikan Sultan Mizan. That one is in commemoration of the Agung visit to the Antarctic, and it was endowed. I think the person who wrote the paper was from Mosti, and it was carried by the then minister Max Onkili. So that's how YPASM comes in. Next. Okay, so quite a lot of questions usually, because I basically I pioneered the whole of the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. I mean, I get lots of questions, and why is the Antarctic and Arctic important in terms of the Malaysian? And I think you can go through some of the importance that I put here. First is that, when you're a meteorologist or something like that, you know that the world is one, so you want to study what happened, how does the Antarctic climate change. You look at the tropics sometime, or you look at the mid-latitude, or you can also go the other way around. The other aspect of the Antarctic is, of course, the ozone hole, which is not has not yet healed properly, and one of the issues is that ozone is being transported from the tropics to the Antarctic. And so the mechanism and why is it not healing properly, some of the questions. There's a big project in EU looking at this, which at one stage I was involved, but there's another way, there's another aspect. The other one, of course, is more related to us, which is dealing with sea ice melting. And if the Antarctic, how fast is the Antarctic ice melting, because that will have a big consequence on sea level rise. So it's better for us to go to the Antarctic. That one, you need to go to the Antarctic to study, or you need to do modeling work to study. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of our Malaysian, I think now working in UMT, is looking into this aspect. He graduated from Imperial, and then now he's bringing his research to UMT and continuing his research. I think he put in application for KPT funding, LRDS. And the other aspect next, the other aspect next is more, can you go to the next slide, please? And one of the things about doing research in Antarctic is very international. So if you are interested to join into international communities, Antarctic is quite a nice, Arctic also is quite a nice window, because most of the work involve you working and sharing data with partners from Japan, partners from Britain, partners from Chile. And I think I would like to say that with Aklima's involvement, and also with Michael, actually Prof. Michael involvement, we are among the few programs that has good research link with Latin America. I don't think there's any other program in Malaysia that has such a very good link, and that link is sustainable. I mean, it's growing, it's deepening, and they know, especially Chile knows Malaysia quite well through the Antarctic program. The other one that we are also, so the scientific committee, of course, the global one is the Scientific Committee of Antarctic Research, and I would advise you to go to scar.org, and then you will then see all the activities of SCAR. So SCAR is the prime advisor, not only to the United Nations, but to IPCC, to UNFCCC, when it comes to Antarctic, the scientific, and also the Antarctic Treaty System. When it comes to Antarctic, SCAR is the main advisor. And we are a full member of SCAR, which means that when you say we are a full member, any SCAR program, any what you call activities, we can participate, and also we can lead. That's quite important too. At the moment, in terms of steering committees, the Antarctic Climate Now, okay, both myself and Shiba are members of the steering committee, not members, just a participant, but we are members of the steering committee, in which we determine the sort of science that is going to come out from Anti-Climate Now. And we also have our own what you call action group, TATE, which is called Tropical Antarctic Teleconnection. And we published in Polar Science the first paper that linked something happening to the Antarctic to India, the monsoon in India. And that's the first paper that does it, because most of the time is both the tropics influencing on the Arctic. This is the first paper being published in which we work on the other way around, how the Antarctic influence on the what you call Indian monsoon. And what I'm trying to say is that that's because our perspective is different, because we are looking from the tropics to the Antarctic, and so in that sense we are more interested the other way around. We are also a council member of the International Antarctic Institutes. That one is sort of, you know, the Malay saying, apa, hidup segan mati tak mau. But the one that we are very much involved and we are now sharing the society is the Asian Forum on Polar Science. And that basically, as you will know, the Asian Forum of Polar Science there's only 5 countries in it, which is Thailand, Malaysia, India, Korea, Japan, or 6 countries, Japan and China. And when you look at activities related to Antarctic or Arctic research, what you can see is, especially China, is the expansion of the Asian polar sciences. And, you know, that, I mean, in terms of making ships, in terms of very aggressive new research, China and Korea are very aggressive. But the nice thing about it is because we are quite an active member of FOPS, what you can see is that we are able to tap into the expansion of Korea polar research. We are also able to tap on the expansion of Chinese polar research, and this to a cooperation under FOPS. Okay, this is something that I would like participants or members of our MARC program to get involved in all the various activities of SCAR or the various activities of FOPS. FOPS has many fellowship, SCAR also has many fellowship, and one of the issue that has always been we are trying to address is the balance. A lot of Masaleh applying, but not many Malaysian or Asian applying. And we like to encourage that you all do, because you have a definite advantage. So there are many fellowship, both international fellowship in which Malaysian can go and work, even in the Antarctic or the Arctic, but also can work in British Antarctic Survey or the universities up in US or something like that. Okay, next. So this is an opportunity for you all, because SCAR also try to encourage what they call early career scientists. So anybody who's in the early career and doing PhD, you all can apply for all these different fellows, apart from the fellowship by YPASM. So I think they're now 8. Sorry lah, I'm a bit out of not up to date. This is the one that I presented in 2019. 8 dah kan, berarti? Now, okay, next. So these are the universities involved in the SMART partnership. Okay, next. And these are the collaboration involved. So you can see a very extensive collaboration that we have all over the world, and you know, we can give you access to that collaboration. Next. Next. Okay, these are the collaborators. Okay. And one of the things that you must always realize, when you work in Antarctic, most of the time is what you call global science or global goods. Okay, and these are funding. This funding at the moment, we no longer. You can explore funding through the ICF, International Collaboration Fund. KPT is funding some of the research, especially dealing with climate change. Yayasan Penyelidikan Antarctica, YPASM, also has research grant and fellows. And also certain universities, even UPM, they have their own RU grants. And so these are basically the 4 funders of university grant. Now, the thing that I would like to say is that there is now a lot of also international funding that you can also explore with your colleagues from America or colleagues from Australia. You can bid actually. I think with Chile, you can bid with them. That means you are part of their grant. And this is an opportunity that you have also when you join in the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. That means you are a member of somebody else's bid, not Malaysian bid, but you are a member of, let's say, a Chilean bid, or you are a member of an Australian bid, in which you are part of the science, or you're a member of the British bid. But why I'm saying that is that this is a window, a great window for Malaysian scientists who enjoy working under international cooperation, because polar work or Antarctic work is always international in nature. Okay, next. And as I said, when it comes to Antarctic, you're always having to look at Antarctic Treaty. And for those who doesn't know, Antarctica is not a sovereign. It's not like Australia. It's not like New Zealand. It's not. It is a place that last time many people claim, but to avoid people fighting over the claims, they established what is known as the Antarctic Treaty system. And this Antarctic Treaty system put aside all the claim and is the only continent devoted to science. So it's the only place on Earth in which we are very important. The scientist is more important than the diplomats. And so that is something unique about Antarctic, okay? In which we are interested to join. And we already joined the treaty system, but we are now interested to become a consultative member. And in order to do that, we need to, prop our science lah. And then the other one is, of course, this is some of the things. There are lots of national programs, and we have already been given status of observer. I think once we have our own Antarctic Act and whatever, we may, upgrade ourselves to be one of the council members. Okay, so there is the diplomatic side, the governance side of Antarctica that we need to also do. And we need also people to research on it, because there's so many statutes, so many things. So it is not just Antarctic work or Antarctic research is not just science, but it's also dealing with policies and governance, especially if we do finally establish our own Malaysian Antarctic Act. So we need lots of people who are good in environmental law and all that sort of thing to come and input into Malaysia, so that we just don't become what you call a sleeping partner or passenger, so that we are able to participate actively. And I think for the science, we already shown that we've taken leadership on certain aspect of the science in SCAR. We have taken leadership in some aspect in FOPs. We are not what you call, we are not just a passenger. We are a very active member, and they know us. Yes. In FOPs, they know Malaysia, and in SCAR also they know Malaysian scientists. Okay, next. So we've gone a long way. And so, as you can see, we are a full member. That means we have all the rights to participate in SCAR, and when we have the right to participate in polar sciences. And it's quite important to show that we are full members, because there's only 5 Asian countries that are full member of SCAR. Only 5 of the whole Asian country, and we are one of them. And the rest are all the big countries: China, Korea, Japan, India, and then you have Malaysia. Full member. That's all. So which means that, I'll tell you an example. When Iran applied to join as an associate member, okay, in 2014, right? The only country that spoke for Iran, the rest were very quiet. The only country that spoke for Iran and talk about SCAR is Malaysia. We were instrumental in the sense because there were quite a lot of resistance among the members to bring to bring Iran in. But we, being a full member, we have a say. And we managed to persuade and bring back to the issue of SCAR punya orang kata institution, SCAR punya constitution, what it means to be a member of SCAR. And we argued, and the Americans cannot stop it, the Australian cannot stop it, but they were very quiet. We argued to have Iran in. So this is what it means by when you say you're a full member, you have a right that you can exercise if you are willing to speak. If you're not willing to speak, that's a different problem lah. Okay, so the sort of sciences that we have been working on is atmospheric sciences. We have remote sensing. We have myself working in climate, the Shiba or my own group. And then we have the biological sciences. I think Aklima is in biological sciences. Then we have environmental sciences, geological sciences. And of course, in Malaysia, we also have work on policy, okay? Because especially dealing with the Antarctic, not Arctic as much. Okay, we have published quite a lot already. If we look at our program, so as I keep saying, we are already a mature program, and we have, if I'm not mistaken, PhDs in working in Antarctic. I think there's more than 10, or maybe even more. People who has gotten their PhD working in Antarctic research. I think maybe about what? In my field, maybe about 3 or 4 PhDs already. And so Aklima is going to have about 7 or 8, I think, or maybe 20, who knows, as you become more involved. But so we are not, so that in a way makes it harder for someone in Malaysia to apply, because your assessors, if they are Malaysian assessors, a number of your assessors will already have published or have worked in Antarctic sciences or related to Antarctic science. So you cannot go in with some really silly, what you call, how ozone impact on some bacteria or something like that. That one has been done maybe about 20 years ago already. So, and it also some of it has been done by your Malaysian colleague is going to assess you. And when you come up with that sort of idea, basically you'll be thrown out. Because as I said, you are coming into a community that, in Malaysian community, that's quite already matured in terms of Antarctic science. And when I say mature, that means we are doing the same thing that the Chinese are doing. We are doing the same thing that other countries are doing. I mean, our level of science is nearly about equal, or sometimes even better, because we are looking from a different perspective. So that will make it a bit harder for you to come up with some research, because when we were doing ours, when we started in 1999, any form of research in the Antarctic that has the word Antarctic, will just give some money for them to get. They say, I want to go and dive to the Antarctic. We give them money for them to go and dive. But they didn't come with any papers. I mean, I'm not going to mention who, but we spent nearly about 200,000 or 300,000 ringgit on that. But nothing comes out. But what I'm trying to say is that that time, yes, you can do that sort of thing. Now it's different. Now you have to do a bit of homework before you submit your application. Okay, next. So this is what we did until 20. We got about nearly 10 million from MOSTI. we don't have that sort of money anymore, and we need to look for it lah. But at the moment, I'm too lazy to write. Maybe like Lima can write. Good. I mean, we
Another
need,
3 minutes, Prof.
okay, go on, come on. Next. Okay, so this is next. Next, okay. And so this is next. Okay, lagi. I got lots of things. Sorry. Okay. Next lagi. You can get this slide lah. Okay, next. This is more on teleconnection lagi. Okay. Next lagi. Okay, lagi. So what I'm trying to say is that first thing that you need to do if you want to do the research, do a search. Okay, do a search in your particular subject. You can do either lands.org, or you can do because you need to and then you go to SCAR Horizon Scan, have a look, because I can't go in more detail, but I'm quite I can give you my email for you to contact if you're interested to know further. And I think we are what you call, you come from a bigger background, so I think my suggestion is, if possible, one way possible is that you say in biology or something like that, you go into polar biology, you go to you go and Google Malaysian polar biology papers or something like that. Contact the PI of that particular paper. I'm sure you got the email apa semua. Get information. What are the sort of research they are doing? If possible, even better, cooperate with them, because they know better and who to contact. They know better who is their counterpart in, let's say, in BAS, British Antarctic Survey, who is the counterpart in COPRI and that sort of thing. Is if you do that and you come up with your research proposal, in which now you are the PI, but you already include these people inside your group, you have a better chance for me, because in the sense you're going to do something that is doable. Because people can come up with some research program, but cannot be done because we don't have the logistic and the resources to support you. So you must always, if possible, go and ask your friends or colleagues or the scientists that you are interested in that particular field that has already published in that field. Contact them, ask a few questions, what they're doing, what sort of work that these people have been done, so that from that you know how to put in your research proposal, because your research proposal, as I said, will then be reviewed, and most of the time it will be reviewed by Malaysian scientists who either know the science, but most of the time also Malaysian scientists who have done Antarctic work, so they know which work is doable with the constraint that we have, and which work is non-doable. That means you can put in some really nice work. That means you want to go and sail in the Southern Ocean, you want to go and track, let's say, plankton in the Southern Ocean, but cannot be done because you don't have a ship, unless of course you have already worked with the Korean and the Korean has already told you, okay, you can come in and do it with us. So there's quite a lot of what you call pre-planning that you need to do before you submit your research proposal, because one issue about your research proposal, for biotech research apa semua, is easy, but one problem with some one that need field work, then it has problem, because we need to look for partners. But we have partners, so don't worry about it. One of my job is to look for partners. Okay. Okay. So I think that's about it. Thank you. And that's my email. So if you have any queries, you can email me. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Prof. Next, our second panelist is Encik Muhammad Nasruddin Abdul Rahman, Chief Executive Officer of YPASM. So, Encik Nasa, 20 minit. Kan, please prepare the slide. So, Encik Nasa akan menerangkan dengan lebih detail grant dan juga support lain yang YPASM ada, yang kita boleh offer. Okay. Cik Sardin, mute. You tengah mute though, right? Please unmute yourself.
Okay,
Alright.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. I will take this presentation to share with you the opportunity on the funding that is available within the YPASM. Next. So just to give a little bit background on the Yayasan Penyelidikan Antarctica Sulamizan. As Prof. Azizan mentioned earlier, we were established through cabinet decision, and we were given launching grant of 10 million ringgit, and we are entitled for matching grant from the government, not much, 500,000 maximum. And then we are established as a foundation with tax exemption status, registered as a company limited by guarantee in 2012. So you can get more details about the foundation at our website. What is it mean by YPASM Smart Partnership Initiative? As I mentioned earlier, we only be given 10 million, and to sustain Antarctic research, we need more money actually. So we come up with the idea of working together with universities. Alhamdulillah, in the beginning, in 2016, we have 7 universities agreed to this idea of working together with YPASM to make sure our research in Antarctica is continued. And in 2019, we have another universities to join as participating university under this initiative. And I'm pleased to share with you that we have completed our first cycle of Smart Partnership Initiative, with of which we have awarded grants, fellowship, and burst support to 30 researchers from the 8 participating university up to 2020. Now, from 2021 to 2025, we are in the second cycle of our Smart Partnership Initiative. We are very thankful to the 8 participating university, as in the slides. They have agreed to continue working together with us to continue this initiative. Namely, University Malaya, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, International Medical University, University Sains Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Sabah, and University Teknologi Mara. Next. How this Smart Partnership Initiative works. Basically, we have on one side the YPASM, and the other side we have 8 participating university. So each participating university contributes 62,500. So that total up to 500,000. And then YPASM, we match that 500,000. That will make the total fund to 1 million ringgit. And this 1 million ringgit we give back to 8 participating universities through all the researcher, either through research grant, fellowship scheme, or birth support to Antarctica. So as I mentioned earlier, since 2013, we have awarded 30 research grants, 12 fellowship schemes, and 11 birth support to researchers from 8 participating universities, which amounting to 6 million over ringgit. So these are the benefits of joining Smart Partnership Initiative. One is to get research grant support up to 150,000 per grant, fellowship scheme worth 50,000 ringgit, and birth support to Antarctica up to 150,000 ringgit. And other than that, the participating university will get promotion through our website and other activity that we are carrying out throughout the year. Bear in mind that selection of project will be based on merit, as Prof. Aziza mentioned earlier, that the quality of research in Antarctica by Malaysian scientists has been growing very well. Next slide, please. So these are details of the research grant, eligibility criteria. Applicant must possess a PhD in any field of science and technology, must have at least 3 years experience in related field, open to Malaysian researcher, is quite exclusive to 8 participating university at the moment. And the project must involve a minimum of 2 local or international institutions. So, as President strongly mentioned earlier, we strongly encourage the applicant to make contact with the existing researcher, either locally or internationally. So that is why we have here in this session, we have 2 researchers who has involved in Antarctica, one from UPM and the other one from UITM. And the project not exceeding 36 months, which maximum allocation of 150,000 ringgit. In terms of scope of expenditure for the grant, of course, we paid for wages and allowance for basically research assistant, travel and transportation, rentals of equipment, research material, special services, either for consultancy, sample testing, data processing, and paper publication fee, as well as registration fee for conference. These are example of those who has received our grants since 2013. We have, you can see from UPM, from UMS, we have UKM, we have from USM. So I think this slide can be shared with the participant, kan? So you can see the project title basically, so that you have an idea of what type of project they are doing in Antarctica. So these are the latest for 2020 recipient. We have one from UNT, UPM, UKM, IMU, USM, and also UITM. The second one is fellowship scheme. This is mainly targeted at young Malaysian scientists. The main aim of this scheme is to facilitate the professional development and training of early career scientists in polar region. Basically, for the researcher to undertake short-term visit to major international laboratory, field facility, or institute in or operated by SCA member countries other than Malaysia. So this is the eligibility for fellowship scheme. Must have PhD or must be PhD student or those within 5 years of having completed a PhD. In terms of age, not more than 40 years old, and he or she must have at least 3 years experience in related field or program. Again, the project must involve a minimum of two local or international institutions. In terms of duration, not more than 12 months, with maximum allocation of 50,000 ringgit. In terms of expenditure, scope of expenditure for this fellowship scheme, we cover economy class round trip, fare from Kuala Lumpur to host institution, subsistence allowance for the fellowship period, and we expect the applicant home institute will bear all expenses incurred in his or her home country, including domestic travel, visa costs, and for the host institute to waive the bench fee that they might normally charge the trainees. To give you some idea of what type of project and partners that are involved in this fellowship scheme, we have a number of recipients here, including attachment at the Northumbria University in UK, British Antarctic Survey in UK. Slide sebelum ni mana yang tadi? Banyakkan dekat British ni. So ada University of Manchester. Okay, next slide. The next one is birth support to Antarctica. For this birth support is basically we have two categories. One is we have special arrangement with British Antarctic Survey. We have the memorandum of agreement with British Antarctic Survey to make sure that every year at least 2 Malaysian researchers can go and do their research work in Antarctica. And for the second one is any SCA member country that a researcher can find, we also offer birth support to Malaysian researcher. So the one with British Antarctic Survey is quite specific in the sense that you have to network with them to identify projects that are also of interest to them. And I think the next slide we provide you the schedule of application. Next. So for this birth support, we have an understanding with British Antarctic Survey that for each Malaysian scientist go and do research work in their research station, either Roterra or Sydney in Antarctica, we will pay them £27,500 for each scientist. So this is basically to cover very basic activity there, and any activity extending beyond the normal, we have separate financial arrangement that can be discussed with British Antarctic Survey. It's quite expensive for this one. And other than the fee that Yayasan is to pay for the birth support for British Antarctic Survey, the individual researcher or through their institution is expected to pay flight to Punta Arenas from Kuala Lumpur to Punta Arenas, and travel subsistence, and in case they want to bring back sample, etc., you have to pay the freight cost and also hiring of polar clothing, because to do work in Antarctica require specific clothes, not just ordinary or normal winter jacket. The criteria for this birth support, applicant must have at least PhD. Oh no, PhD student. Again, this is for PhD student at least. And for bus, the process is quite not to say complicated, but because the reason is they for Antarctica expedition, they normally confirm a year ahead. So the process is quite done in advance. So I think the next slide will show you the planning schedule. Okay, as early as let's say you want to, for the expedition 2021-2022, as early as November 2020, you already have to discuss your project idea with your counterpart in British Antarctic Survey. And they have quite you have to complete their questionnaire. All these are available at our website. You can have you can go to our website and look at this process more details. So, and they are quite strict in the sense that if you must follow the deadline. If they say 30th March, before 30th March or later by 30th March, you must submit. If you pass the deadline, they will say, sorry, you have already passed the deadline. We cannot do anything much to help you. This is another birth support to Antarctica, which other SCA member country. This is to encourage Malaysian researchers to conduct their research activity in Antarctica in collaboration with any other SCA member countries, with the condition that the applicant must already identify collaborator with secure placement in collaborator research station in Antarctica. I think some of the details nanti Dr. Klima or Dr. Yo will share with you. Next slide, please. In terms of scope of expenditure for this birth support, it covers return economic class airfare from Kuala Lumpur, subsistence expenses, freight costs, and also rental of polar clothing for free use if any. These are the example of project under the birth support that we have funded so far, and the research station that the researcher have visited. Tadi apa?
Jadi SCA member countries ya, Sir?
This one? Oh, master degree je dia punya entitlement So this one is cheaper than BAS punya research support, BAS punya birth support lah. The allocation is only 55,000 ringgit. And the applicant must be at least master degree student. This is example of the recipient, Dr. Klima. She went to Bernardo O'Higgins Station. This one is Chile punya research station under the partnership with Universidad Magallanes, SIMA. So these are the deadline. I think my colleague have sent out the call for proposal. So the deadline for Polar Research Grant is 31st March 2021. For the fellowship scheme, also same deadline, 31st March 2021. And for birth support, deadline is 31st March, tapi in between tu, for BAS punya birth support tu ada processes yang you have to go through. For example, for questionnaire submission 11 December 2020 and submission proposal to YPASM 31st January and post-award questionnaire submission is 31st March 2021. And for birth support to other SCA member country, deadline is also 31st March 2021. So those interested, please work within deadline, and I look forward to see your submission. So the details, application form, guidelines, etc., is available at our website. And for further information, you can contact my colleague Fardi or Intan at any time during office hour or after office hour, in case he or she gave you your her handphone. Especially during PKPB ni lah. Sometimes we come to office. For example, today we are all in the office, but sometimes we are working from home. We work from home. Satu lagi benda yang saya nak highlight di sini, maybe Dr. Hugh or Dr. Aklimah can also share after this. One important thing is if your research involve bringing in sample from Antarctica, please alert us as soon as possible, because there is quite not to say strict regulation, but you need to alert the relevant parties, including if, for example, to bring in soil sample from Antarctica, we need to have permit from Department of Agriculture in Malaysia. And for Dr. Hyo, he last time brought in penguin bone. We need to have to apply permit from veterinary department. So because kadang-kadang because kita biasa buat research, contohnya di hutan simpan mana-mana, kita boleh bawa balik sampel dengan mudah aja kan. Tapi for Antarctica ni you require permit. So sometimes pernah berlaku esok nak pergi, hari ni belum dapat lagi permit. So we don't want to have that situation anymore. So we are very more than happy to assist you in getting the permit lah. We have been working with Department of Agriculture as well as Jabatan Veterina to facilitate import permit for the sample from Antarctica. Next. Ini sama lah. Okay. Just to share, because I think most of you are scientists, kat dalam ni researcher, kita Project ada mention briefly tadi. Next year kita akan adakan together with NRC, we're going to organize Malaysian International Seminar on Antarctica in October 2021. It is the 9th Malaysian International, dah 9 kali kita buat. Every time this seminar pun kita ada special publication. Cuma I would like to encourage those yang interested to venture into Antarctica or polar research ni, please come and attend this seminar, because this is the opportunity for you to network with existing Malaysian scientists and also foreign scientists, and specifically for this 2021 punya seminar, kita akan buat back to back dengan efforts AGM. So all efforts member country including their director will be in Kuala Lumpur hopefully kalau PKPB ni dah tamat. So there is opportunity for you to network with them, hopefully to get the berth ke apa semua tu, access to sama ada dia punya facility ataupun networking dengan dia punya scientist. This is the good opportunity lah. Next. Tadi I dah mention, because Razan mentioned, from now on we are the chair of efforts. So we're going to have efforts AGM back to back with MISA. So they at least the giant, Asian giant in Antarctica lah, yang apa tu, China, Korea, Japan, India will be here. So this is very good opportunity yang kita patut utilize for our benefit. Next. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Alright, terima kasih Encik Nasar.
Oh, Naungan, 20 minit.
Okay. Next, kita ada perkongsian perkongsian daripada dua penerima geran dan dana penyelidikan YPASM. Boleh kita ke Dr. Siti Aklimah dulu. Alright, Dr. Siti Aklimah. Dr. Aklimah, boleh kongsikan dengan kita sedikit background lah, macam mana you boleh involve. Mungkin ada pada hari ini ada peserta-peserta yang baru, jadi boleh you ceritakan macam mana you terlibat dalam bidang penyelidikan Antarctica. And then macam yang kita sedia maklum tadi, doktor telah menerima burst support 2 kali burst support 2 kali, dengan satu dengan negara dengan BAS, British Antarctic Survey, dan satu dengan universiti daripada Chile. Nak pronounce tu saya ada masalah sikit. Bangladesh ke apa ke, okay, alright. Kan, dan you juga ada kerjasama dengan institut dari Jepun untuk ni, macam Prof cakap tadi, pendidikan Antarctica ni dia kena bersifat antarabangsa, bersifat international. Jadi boleh kongsikan juga macam mana you build up the network dengan ketiga-tiga negara ni. Dan juga macam mana you berjaya bid 3 tadi, ada 2 burst support dan satu tu, macam mana you build up dia punya proposal tu. Sebab so far yang kita nampak memang proposal you memang mempunyai valid dokumen lah, surat sokongan daripada negara-negara yang terlibat. Jadi boleh kongsikan pada audience pada hari ini macam mana proses pengalaman you, macam mana you apply for tu dengan dokumen-dokumen yang lengkap tu, apa proses yang telah dilalui. Okay, floor is yours.
Okay, hai, Assalamualaikum dan selamat tengah hari semua. Saya Dr. Siti Aklimah daripada Universiti Putra Malaysia. Okey, pertama, minat dan pelibatan saya pada penyelidikan Antarctica ini bermula semenjak tahun 2004, di mana kajian master saya di bawah penyelidikan utama Profesor Emeritus Nur Arifin Syamaan adalah berkaitan dengan Antarctica. Okey, daripada pembacaan saya pada ketika itu, saya dapati terdapat kesan-kesan negatif yang berlaku pada benua Antarctica ni, antaranya disebabkan oleh perubahan iklim dan pencemaran yang menyebabkan benua ini tidak 100% bersih lah. Okey, sebagai seorang saintis dalam bidang kajian bioteknologi alam sekitar, saya lebih memfokuskan kajian saya untuk mengekalkan kesucian benua Antarctica tu. Okey, untuk maklumat, sehingga hari ini saya mempunyai kolaborasi penyelidikan Antarctica yang kukuh dengan 3 buah negara yang terletak di 3 benua berbeza, iaitu UK, Chile dan Japan. Dengan UK, saya menjalankan kolaborasi dengan British Antarctic Survey, terutamanya Profesor Perkongsian semenjak tahun 2012. Dengan Japan, saya berkolaborasi dengan 2 buah universiti, iaitu Shizuoka University bersama Profesor Futamata semenjak 2014. Dan universiti kedua adalah Shibara Institute of Technology bersama Dr. Azham semenjak tahun 2014 dan Profesor Fuse semenjak tahun 2018. Manakala dengan Chile, saya menjalankan kolaborasi dengan Antarctic Environmental Research and Monitoring Center ataupun dikenali sebagai SIMA bersama dengan Direktur SIMA itu sendiri, iaitu Dr. Claudio Gomez dan juga Nancy. Nancy Kalitos sejak 2016. Okey, networking dan kolaborasi international saya bermula dengan perjumpaan secara tidak rasmi di konferens-konferens Antarctica seperti SCA, MISA, NIPR. Okey, sebagai contoh, pada tahun 2016 saya telah mengenali Dr. Claudio Gomez. Okey, semasa di SCA di Kuala Lumpur. Perbincangan kami tidak hanya terbenti di konferens sahaja dan kami sering berbalas email untuk berkongsi kajian yang telah dilakukan dan secara tidak langsung menarik minat beliau yang kebetulan adalah Direktur SIMA dan beliau mempunyai grant dan tempat kajian bersama Jabatan Tentera Antarctic Chile di Bernardo O'Higgins, Antarctica. Selepas 3 bulan perbincangan, beliau telah memberikan tawaran kepada saya untuk menyertai ekspedisi penyelidikan Antarctica pada 2017 di Bernardo O'Higgins Station. Tetapi saya terpaksa menolak tawaran itu kerana saya telah menerima yayasan YPASM bersupport to bus research center bersama British ke Sydney Island, Antarctica. Okey, disebabkan saya terpaksa pergi ke Antarctica, saya telah untuk mengeratkan lagi kolaborasi saya dengan SIMA itu, saya telah berjumpa dengan Claudio Gomez dan Nancy di Punta Arenas pada tahun 2016 iaitu pada bulan Disember sebelum saya bertolak ke Sydney Island bersama British. And then pada tahun 2018 dan 2019 saya telah menyertai SIMA untuk kajian di Bernardo O'Higgins Station. Daripada kajian pre-result kajian saya pada tahun 2018 dan 2019, saya telah memohon grant penyelidikan YPASM dan alhamdulillah saya dapat. Dan pada tahun 2022, saya dengan bantuan grant penyelidikan YPASM, saya telah menghantar 2 orang pelajar PhD saya untuk menjalankan kajian di Antarctica bersama SIMA. Untuk mengeratkan lagi hubungan collaboration antara kami bukan sahaja berkongsi kajian, malah kami berkongsi grant, penerbitan jurnal serta berkongsi penyelidikan bersama bagi pelajar FIP, Master dan PhD kami. Okey, semenjak tahun 2017 sehinggalah Januari 2020, kami juga mengambil peluang untuk menjalankan perbincangan secara bersemuka bersama Chilean dan British ketika kami berada di Punta Arenas. Dan meeting ini juga disertai oleh pelajar kami. Pada tahun ini pandemik COVID telah melanda, tetapi pandemik COVID ini tidak menghalang kami untuk melakukan perbincangan bersama secara dalam talian. Dan untuk makluman, saya telah ditawarkan oleh SIMA untuk menyertai kajian di Antarctica pada 2021 Januari ini, tapi saya telah kerana COVID telah berlanda, ekspedisi ini akan ditunda pada maybe Disember 2021 atau Januari 2022 dan SIMA juga telah mengofer saya untuk membawa 2 orang student pada tahun 2022. Untuk mengeratkan lagi itu adalah pengalaman saya dengan Chile dan Japan, Chile dan British. Dan untuk maklumat, untuk mengeratkan collaboration saya dengan Japan, saya telah menghantar student saya untuk menjalankan kajian di Jepun, iaitu saya telah semenjak tahun 2016 hingga 2022, 5 pelajar saya telah dihantar ke Japan untuk meneruskan kajian Antarctica ini. Tetapi disebabkan pandemik COVID pada tahun ini, 3 pelajar saya tidak berkesempatan ke Jepun dan sepatutnya dijadualkan pada pada bulan Mei dan Ogos 2020. Okey, soalan kedua, strategi untuk bid semua kategori. Bagi saya untuk kita bid semua kategori, ni kita perlulah mempunyai proposal kajian yang terkini dan perlu dibincangkan terlebih awal bersama dengan collaborator. Dalam kajian proposal saya mengambil masa dalam masa 6 ke 1 tahun untuk perbincangan bersama collaborator kerana saya ingin mengetahui apakah barang yang ada di Antarctica dan apakah barang yang perlu dibawa daripada Malaysia, dan kita kena mengira semua kos-kos, terutamanya kos pengangkutan. Dan paling utama, kita perlulah mendapat sokongan daripada international dan national collaboration. Apabila saya bercakap mengenai local collaborator, saya juga mempunyai hampir keseluruhan nama universiti telah disenaraikan oleh YPASM, iaitu saya membuat collaboration semenjak 2014 bersama UiTM bersama Dr. Khalila, IMU bersama Dr. Wong Chuyen, Dan bersama Associate Professor Dr. Siti Aisyah, USM bersama Dr. Faradina dan Dr. Japaran. UMT adalah new collaboration, saya jumpa pada MISA 2008 di Antico, di meeting Antico, iaitu Dr. Danish dari UiTM. Okey. Dan saya rasa yang paling penting kita perlulah melengkapkan selengkap-lengkapnya borang tu, dan semua collaborator kita mestilah proof proposal kita. Okey, dan kita mestilah mempunyai support letter daripada international dan national collaborator secara bertulis supaya borang tu lengkap dengan CV terkini and then paper terkini, dan kalau boleh kita mempunyai paper bersama, iaitu kita ada pre-study sebelum kita nak apply grant Antarctica supaya grant Antarctica ni akan sustain. Okey? Akan sustain untuk kajian ini. Itu sahaja, terima kasih.
Dr. Klima, ada sikit saya tertinggal tadi. Beside funding from YPASM, ada you dapat funding lain-lain tak daripada institusi lain ke, daripada universiti ke?
Ada. Dalam kajian saya di Antarctica, contohnya perjalanan daripada Punta Arenas ke Antarctica, saya disponsor penuh oleh SIMA, iaitu satu saintis ditaja 12,000. So pada 12,000 USD. Okey, bersamaan dalam 500 ribu ringgit Malaysia. Pada tahun 2018 saya dapat satu, 2019 saya dapat satu, dan tahun 2020 saya dapat 2 tempat. Iaitu dia orang funding daripada SIMA sebanyak 24,000 USD. Dan juga saya juga memohon grant daripada UPM, grant dalaman daripada UPM. Kalau macam lecturer UPM, kita ada grant Putra Berimpak, matching grant, and then kebanyakan lecturer di UPM boleh mengapply grant dalaman UPM.
Okay, alright. Terima kasih Dr. Klima. Kita balik ke Dr. Hyo. Okay, Dr. Hyo berbeza sikit dengan Dr. Klima. Dr. Klima dia dah ada dalam environment tu dia dah ada daripada master dia dah terlibat dalam bidang pendidikan Antarctica.
Yes, a lot of experiences.
Berbanding dengan Dr. Hyo, orang kata Dr. Hyo ni very raw lah dalam pendidikan Antarctica ni very raw.
Very new.
Very new Alright. Jadi apa yang mendorong Dr. Hyo untuk terlibat dengan pendidikan Antarctica ni, dan boleh kongsikan tak pengalaman as a new, of course you ada lot of challenges nak cari collaborator dan sebagainya. Boleh kongsikan dengan kita tak pengalaman you sampai akhirnya you berjaya lah pergi dengan Kopri tapi lot of challenges. Dia boleh share dengan apa nama audience pada hari ini, your experience. The floor is yours.
Right. Terima kasih Fadi. Thank you YPASM for inviting me today to share my experience with the when applying for the grant for this YPASM research grant. Good afternoon to all you. As you all know, actually I'm a newbie in this Antarctic research, because throughout my research academic life, I have not even work on Antarctica sample, I have the interest since when I was doing my master 10 years ago in UKM, and then in forensic research in parasitology, and then about insects as well, entomology. That is my field. And then I went to do my PhD also about insects, and then 2016 I came back to Malaysia. And then at the end of 2017, then I actually got an email circulate internally in UITM email. So I saw that there is an opening call for grant for Antarctica research. So I recall my interest last time 10 years ago when I did my master. I heard about this when I was a student, but Antarctica is very far away, so I didn't think much about it. So since I came back with PhD, but then I have one problem, that is how to merge my field, my research field, with Antarctic scenario. So that is the first challenge I need to think about. So then I decided to make a proposal. So I tried to how imagine what kind of research that I can do in Antarctic. So first of all, I need a team. So I start looking for my collaborators from my contact, and as you all know, in the applying criteria, you need to have at least 2 institution other than your own institution. So then I look for my fellow project in Dr. Lucas, and then I got another one, Dr. Siti Sofor from UMT, and then UITM. So I have 3 local institutions. Then I have put in my idea like what to do, because I'm studying decomposition, peluputan pangkai. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can start looking at the penguins, because Antarctic have penguins, a very charismatic animal. But then actually, how do penguins decompose in Antarctica? Because a lot of studies we have done in tropical and in Europe, America, like how human decompose, like how animal decompose when they die. Actually, not many studies on penguin, how penguin decompose in Antarctica, especially under this kind of extreme environment, is very cold environment. So I decided to put that as my proposal. After that, then the next challenges is to locate your collaborator. So I was like totally new at that. I didn't know where to go. Who should I collaborate with? And then luckily at that time, UITM also make the internal sharing session with our previous recipient, Antarctica recipient, which is Associate Professor Dr. Huzaimi, who was the first from UITM to secure the grant. So I attended the sharing session, and then I got some idea, okay, so this is how we should proceed, this is how we should get the collaborator. And he actually recommended me to go to a Korean station, which is the Kopri, located in St. George Island. So because he went there before, and he said that very facility, research facility is very good. So okay, I think it's good. And then most importantly, the Korean station is also nearby the sea, which is also means that it's nearby to the penguin colonies, and that is the place I can locate for the penguins carcasses. So I got the sample, so I got the place. And I got the contact from Dr. Huzaimi as well. And then I start looking around who is actually in this area, because I'm in biology in general, because we're studying decomposition, what kind of arthropods that attracted to the decomposition, right? So it's under biology, and I need to find biologists in order to work with me. So I actually Google online. Who are the Korean researchers studying penguins. Actually, I got some names, and I actually emailed them randomly. But very fortunately, I think I'm lucky at that time. I got one of the Korean researcher replied to my email, and she actually recommended me to contact with another Korean collaborator, Dr. Lee, who is a biologist from Korea. After that, I contact Dr. Lee, and Dr. Lee forwarded my name to the international unit of COPRI, because the Korean Antarctic Research Center, they have a unit called International Unit. I think this is where they connect with other international researchers. So they put my name in, and then they circulate my proposal around in COPRI, and finally one collaborator, Dr. Hong agreed to host me. And with this collaborator, then I can put in the proposal. And then I submit on 2018 March. And then at the end of 2018, I'm very grateful, very lucky, and I got the grant. But I have to tell all of you that I actually spent a lot of time working on the proposal. Whenever I'm free, I will always open and improve my proposal over and over again until I feel like this is perfect. And when people read my proposal, they feel like they are confident. They think that this proposal can be done. So I really spent a lot of time. That is an advice to all of you. If you want to secure the grant, please spend more time and effort sitting down, improve your proposal over and over again, and then locate your local collaborator, and then try to locate your international collaborator, and then you submit the proposal. Thanks, thanks, Fadi.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Hyo. Okay, now we go to the Q&A session. To those yang ada soalan, boleh drop your question in the chat box. Kita dah pun ada soalan sebenarnya, alright. Let me check. Okay, first question for today untuk Prof Azizan daripada Nur Atirah Yusof, UMS. Do we have a collection of plants and microbes which were collected by YPASM recipients who went to Antarctica, or all the collections are kept by the researchers? Mungkin Prof boleh share daripada lama, ada collection lama-lama tak di NRC ke, ataupun semuanya ada individually, kept individually by the researchers? Mute Prof. Sorry, still in mute. Okay, right.
Okay.
Thanks.
In terms of previous sample that was sponsored by MAP, the sample basically belonged to the NARC and NRC members. So even though it is with the researcher concerned, we can apply on your behalf for the samples. But the samples are bacteria from soil from the Antarctic, and also algae that were taken by our researcher. But so the raw sample, quite a lot of it is stored under freezer in UM lah, at NARC. Tapi apart from that, there are also samples that is stored individually by the researcher. But under, I think this is, the researcher also should understand, under the agreement, all samples belong to NARC YPASM and should be shared. So you can apply, you can write to us, and then we'll look for the sample for you and see the researcher who's holding the sample. And if he likes, he can give you a portion of the sample.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Next question. Right. Soalan seterusnya ada melalui yang ada kita juga ada kongsi melalui YouTube YPASM ya. Soalan untuk Encik Nasa. Soalan Encik Nasa. May I ask why only 8 universities participated? Why not more? Did they refuse to join? So Encik Nasa, kita ada approach few universities tapi kurang berjaya. Mungkin Encik Nasa boleh elaborate lebih lagi. Kenapa soalannya kenapa ada 8 je universiti yang participate ni? Kenapa universiti lain tak participate ke?
Okay, thank you. Very good question. Of course, at YPASM we want more university. Tapi I think different university they got different priorities. So at the moment we orang kata kita pun dah berjaya untuk continue this partnership dengan 8 universiti for the second round. Tetapi kalau sekiranya ada di antara kita dalam sesi ni yang boleh orang kata mempengaruhi ke universiti-universiti selain daripada 8 ni untuk terlibat sama dalam inisiatif ni, boleh hubungi saya dan saya sedia bekerjasama untuk berhubung dengan pihak-pihak tertentu di universiti untuk kita meriahkan lagi bilangan universiti dalam Malaysia untuk sama-sama terlibat dalam inisiatif ni lah.
Okay.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Encik Nasa. Soalan untuk Dr. Klima. Dr. Klima ada soalan ni. Okay. Can you please elaborate about official agreement? Cukup ke dengan LOI sahaja ataupun you ada lampirkan lagi dokumen-dokumen lain? What kind of document yang you biasa hantar? Boleh share dengan audience?
Okay, selalunya saya memang hantar untuk LOI lah. LOI, setengah tu kita ada MOU bersama. And then dari situ kita MOU dan LOI tu mencukupi lah.
So far setakat tu itulah strategi lah. Okay, alright. Okay.
Dan Cik Fadi berkenaan soalan Dr. Atikah, right, daripada UMS. Sample collection yang dia kata, untuk pengetahuan, jika sesiapa inginkan sample collection, saya banyak sample collection daripada tu, kita dibenarkan share tapi ada bersyarat lah.
Okay, right.
Sampel untuk algae dan sampel tanah.
Alright, kalau siapa yang berminat dengan sampel algae atau sampel tanah boleh hubungi Dr. Klima. Alright. Soalan daripada Dr. Ahmad Aziz, UKM. Saya rasa soalan untuk Cik Nasa. Let's say if someone secure both support, is it sufficient to support all the research expense or do we need to apply for other funding? Biasanya Cik Nasa, ada yang penerima lepas cukup tak? bersupport tu? Mencukupi tak untuk dia support all the research sampai ke travel ke Antarctica, ataupun dia kena top up lagi duit-duit lain?
I think Aklima can answer this question lah, because dia ada strategi juga. Kalau you tahu ni, there is a strategy to apply. Contohnya kalau tahun ni you dapat bersupport, tahun depan you dapat research grant ataupun you dapat fellowship, there is strategy on it lah. Tapi I think Aklima can highlight you on this.
Okay,
Pandai.
yes. Duit tu tak cukup. Honestly speaking, tak cukup. And then untuk saya telah mendapatkan collaboration daripada Chile tu, daripada SIMA tu, dia memang sponsor saya. Kita kena tunjukkan minat kita, kajian kita. So diorang akan sponsor kita. Baru-baru ni macam daripada SIMA, dia try tawarkan saya untuk tulis proposal bersama untuk apply INACH pula. INACH tu satu lagi entiti Institute Antarctica di Chile. Sebab dia ada INACH, ada IDEAL, ada SIMA. Saya mempunyai collaboration bersama diorang ni, dan diorang try untuk hantar proposal. Daripada kajian tu, daripada proposal tu, jika dia dapat grant tu, sedikit allocation untuk kita akan diberikan.
Right. Okay, terima kasih Dr. Klima. Okay, saya juga nak share bagaimanapun untuk fellowship. Kita pernah ada student yang dapat fellowship, Dr. Jacqueline daripada UMS, dengan amount 55,000 tak salah saya. Dia boleh ke Antarctica dan menjalankan research, tapi mungkin ada duit-duit lain lah. Tapi ada dia menggunakan 55,000 tu untuk ke Antarctica dengan negara Chile juga. Itu mungkin boleh consult Prof. Michael daripada UMS. Ada student, Dr. Jacqueline ni student dia dulu. Tapi agak mencukupi lah untuk ke Antarctica. Okay, next soalan seterusnya.
Fadi, maybe I think the most important point, maybe Prof. Azizan can also share kat sini. Setakat yang saya tahulah, grant daripada universiti ataupun KPM, Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi, tidak menyediakan peruntukan untuk travel ke Antarctica. Okay, jadi kalau you dapat grant daripada KPM tetapi tak ada peruntukan untuk pergi ke Antarctica, memerlukan bantuan keuangan, you boleh gunakan untuk fellowship tadilah, untuk tambang perjalanan ke Antarctica, dan yang untuk tujuan pendidikan tu gunakan grant lain lah.
I rasa kalau you are creative dan you dah dapat sponsorship, katalah research grant untuk daripada YPASM sebagai contoh, ataupun you dapat grant daripada KPT untuk you buat research in Antarctic, yang penting pada saya ialah katalah you dapat dengan Kopri actually, bila you kena bawa diri you pergi kat Punta Arenas, dan kadang-kadang dengan Kopri ni, daripada Punta Arenas pergi kat King St. John, semua ditanggung oleh Kopri. Dia bukannya ditanggung oleh Malaysia dah. Dan Kopri pun ada dia punya international fellowship, di mana you boleh juga minta. Jadi apa yang saya nak nyatakan di sini, selain daripada bus, kebanyakan daripada airports ataupun Asian punya ni, the moment you have a place, dia bagi you free ya. I mean you naik kapal dia, you pergilah ke King St. John ke or John Bogo ke. So far I've sent 3 of my students to John Bogo, naik kapal. The only thing that we need to do is kalau kata dia kapal tu nak pick them up dekat katalah Cape Town ke ataupun dekat Christchurch ke, kita kena bayarlah that portion. Tapi itu tak banyak, itu tak sampai 10,000 pun. Tapi the moment and then kita nak bayar the flight to dia punya station tu, mungkin about 1 or 2,000 US lah. So that 50,000 usually should be sufficient. Kerana selalunya bila kita berada di the station, King John Bogo ke atau King St. John ke, makan free je lah untuk kita. And with Asian so far, that's how the cooperation. I think with Chile pun sama. Actually the unseen the unseen cash or the unseen support from all these other national program, kita tak nampak, but actually quite a lot yang mereka give to us. So this is a good opportunity lah. Tapi kena macam Aklimah lah, kena usaha lah. Get the context, get the researcher, because if you don't usaha and then just think like that and then just sit on your couch and then do a research project, you more likely you won't get the cooperation. You kena do quite a fair amount of researching, contact people, quite a lot of discussion has to go in, and usually it takes about 6 months for you to solidify a good research proposal. Thank you.
Alright. Thank you, Prof. Soalan seterusnya, bolehkah YPASM daripada Prof Madina, UKM, bolehkah YPASM support untuk safety cost yang diperlukan oleh SCA member seperti Kopri? Kos ni agak mahal di Malaysia, begitu juga dengan life insurance. Cik Asa. Please unmute yourself.
Okey. Dia apa ni? Kadang-kadang apa yang kita buat dengan Antarctica ni ialah kita tak biasa. Jadi di peringkat awal tu kadang-kadang kita tak ada peruntukan ataupun allocation untuk ini, itu dan ini, sebab kadang-kadang benda tu tak pernah dilalui. Tetapi Yayasan Penyelidikan Antarctica ni we are very flexible. Okay, as far as within your shilling, kalau ada keperluan untuk ubah suai you punya peruntukan, terutamanya untuk perkara-perkara yang penting yang menjadi orang kata prasyarat untuk you pergi ke Antarctica dan sebagainya, yang dikendaki oleh collaborating partner dan sebagainya, we are more than happy to give the flexibility itulah. Kita boleh bincang dan kita boleh pindah apa-apa yang perlu.
Alright, thank you Cik Asa. Mungkin Dr. Hyo atau Dr. Aklimah nak tambah macam mana dari segi pengalaman insurans semua ni, ada cover daripada sumber-sumber lain ke, daripada universiti ke, ataupun ada host yang cover? Dr. Aklimah, okay, go first.
Okay, saya tambah sikit ya. Untuk insurans ke Antarctica, selalunya academician daripada setiap institut universiti tempatan kita boleh apply sekali dalam masa setahun. So kita boleh apply insurans tu, universiti akan bayar. Macam saya UPM bayar insurans ke Antarctica full untuk insurans saya. Sebab kita ada satu insurans peribadi untuk kita kalau kita nak jalan-jalan, satu lagi untuk kajian atau dalam urusan rasmi kita. Sekali dalam setahun.
Right, Dr. Hyo nak tambah?
Okay, untuk saya,
I
just want to share because I went to Kopri as well.
Yes.
So actually for the training safety course, the training safety course, I actually attended one safety course in PJ. Actually, the amount is roughly about 1,000 to 2,000 ringgit. I actually used the grant to pay for the training course, 3 days training course.
Right, okay. Yeah. So, Cik Asa cakap at YPASM quite flexible. So, kita treat case by case lah. Apply pada YPASM dan kita akan tengok keperluan tu dan kita akan support bila kalau keadaan tu memerlukan. Okay. Thanks. Kita go to the next soalan seterusnya. Satu soalan ya, Prof. Ada satu soalan ni dia tanya, kalau other than microbe, is plant-based research is acceptable? Is it a priority? Plant-based research, adakah priority bagi kita? Prof, mute. Unmute please.
Orang yang bertanya ni, maknanya dia tak tahu pasal Antarctic.
Dia baru ni, mungkin newcomer.
Kalau dia nak buat research kat Arctic, bolehlah cakap pasal plant. Tapi kalau nak buat pasal Antarctic, the only plant that is there is just some grass. Pokok pun tak ada. So I mean that's why I do mention, kalau nak masuk Antarctic ni, do your homework well lah. Go and look first. So the only vascular one is grass lah. You can work on grass kalau you're working on grass, especially in peninsula lah. There's some grass that is growing in peninsula, but you go to the the big chunk of Antarctic, tak ada lah. There's no grass at all because it cannot survive in the Antarctic. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Prof. Soalan daripada Encik Muhammad Fahmi, Dr. Fahmi. Can the researcher in a particular station share equipment from another station, or is there restriction of access between stations? Saya tunjukkan soalan ini daripada Prof lah, as a seasoned player in Antarctica. Can the researcher in a particular station share equipment from another station, or is there restriction of access between stations?
Okay, in Antarctic, each station is like dia punya own country lah. So when we want to do research, katalah sebagai contoh, you want to put an equipment, macam UKM dia bubuh satu equipment which is a lightning detector, and I also put one equipment in Kopri ke Don Bogo, which is a soda. So you negotiate with Kopri, you negotiate with King St. John, and then after that, then you pack up your equipment and then you bring in your technician. You pergi ke King St. John ataupun you pergi dekat John Bogo, or when I was doing with New Zealand, I go to New Zealand, and then you pasang that equipment. And the only thing that they give you is support, power, someone to maybe look after the equipment. If the equipment is not working, tell you. But in terms of maintenance, apa semua, it's all yours. That means kalau you kena visit the next year, then you should plan for another visit for the next year. But having said that, one of the issue with Antarctic is that all data is actually required by the Antarctic Treaty to be put into a central repository, and this is what you call the Antarctic Environmental Portal, and it's managed by Australia and also British Antarctic Survey. They are the reader project. So there are quite a lot of data, ozone data, meteorological data, even some ocean data that is in the international data center. And as I said, one of my PhD students who's working on teleconnection between high sea ice and low sea ice with the monsoon of India, I mean, her research need not require her to go to the Antarctic. So what I'm trying to say is that you can work, or let's say Shahrul research on surface ozone. You can work on data that's already available in and stored in terms of either in British Antarctic Survey or Australian Antarctic Division or the US Antarctic Survey. So there's so much data that you can work with. And the best thing is that you work with modeling. So research in Antarctic sometimes need not necessarily require for the scientists to go to the Antarctic. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Prof. Based on your experience, Aklima, dengan Dr. Hyo, kalau macam even kalau you pergi dengan Kopri pun ada few stations. So ada limitation tak kalau nak share equipment from different station, tapi dalam negara yang sama? Macam British Antarctic Survey ada Sydney and Rotorua kan? Ada limitation tak? Ataupun once you pergi, then you eligible untuk share equipment di tempat dua-dua ni?
Kalau contohnya Sydney Island, dia hantar kita, dia tak akan datang balik kapal tu.
Alright.
Preparation kita kena bawa memang lengkap. Dan kalau boleh bawa extra sebut chemical. Kalau macam Chile pula, sebab Chile negara paling dekat dengan Antarctica, dan kapal dia akan datang sebulan sekali lah untuk hantar makanan, and then kadang-kadang kita akan jumpa lah. And then Chile dia ada 2 station yang saya pergi, satu O'Higgins station dan satu lagi dekat King George tu. And then ada yang hari saya bermalam di situ sebelum saya terbang balik ke Punta Arenas. Dan untuk ke stesen tu kita boleh bergerak lah, macam Prof Azan cakap, kita boleh pergi ke stesen Rusia, stesen tu, tapi kalau di invite kita je. Dia macam negara dia ada border. Tapi kita boleh jalan dekat luar je lah.
Right, okay. Dr. Hyo?
So far, because I only stay in King Sejong Station, and I know Korea has 2 stations. One is the King Sejong Station, which is near at the Chile side. The other one is Jangbogo Station, which is, I think, is New Zealand, Australia side. So basically, these 2 stations are very far away. So I believe it's very difficult for them to actually exchange their equipment. So I believe each in their station, they have their own equipment. But also Korea has one ship, the big ship, and then they are traveling around. I think the ship is called Araon. Yeah, and that is the one maybe they actually use the vessels to communicate between these 2 stations. Yeah, so my advice is you need to bring your own equipment there. This is better and safer. Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you Dr. Hyo. Alright, next question untuk Cik Nasa dan juga Prof. Berkaitan SCAR Fellowship Scheme. One of the eligibilities is to visit a facility in or run by a SCAR member country. Soalan daripada Nur Atira. I've tried to email a few random researchers related to my research but no response. Does YPASM or NARC has a list of active researchers found with Malaysian research in a SCAR member country according to their expertise? So basically macam mana nak reach researchers from SCAR member countries ni? Mungkin NARC boleh bantu Prof untuk SCAR Fellowship Scheme.
I think we have to see the sort of research that person wants to do, and then after that we need to contact our counterpart lah. Sama ada, I mean we don't work with everybody because we have people that know us, macam BAS know us, Corpri know us, PIC and IPR. So kita kena cari lah. But we need to look at the research, what you want to do, because because you are trying to use your own personal network to see whether you can introduce that particular researcher to our Malaysian researcher. So kita kena tahu lah. So kita boleh kata blanket lah yang kita boleh tolong semua.
Right, thank you Prof. Cik Nasa, ada nak tambah?
Ada new potensi lah, tapi as Prof. Azia mention, kita kena tengok. Maybe those yang tanya soalan tu, if you can look at Ukraine punya activities, whether or not what are you trying to do is in line with what Ukraine is doing. So Ukraine is very eager to work with us to the extent that they have asked us to sign an MOU with them. So kalau you boleh tengok dulu, ada possibility for you to work with Ukraine, then we can try to network with you with Ukraine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So Akira boleh hantar some proposal tu, mungkin boleh share dengan Prof Azizan dan YPASM, dan kita akan bantu untuk dapatkan collaborator daripada negara SCAR yang terlibat. Okay, alright. Next question untuk Dr. Aklima. What is the X factor that keep you going further in Antarctica research? Dah lama dah Antarctica research daripada master. So kenapa terus berminat dengan Antarctica research ni? Mute Aklima.
Okay, sorry. Okay, unmute. Okay, saya bermula dengan menggunakan bakteria sahaja, tanah sahaja. So saya tadi sebab saya sekarang ni telah mencipta bioreactor untuk mesin untuk dibawa ke Antarctica. So kita dah buat application to real situation dah sekarang. Yang tu menarik minat saya. Mula-mula kita just buat kajian kat Malaysia, kita publish paper sahaja, tapi sekarang ni kita memang pergi ke tempat tu dan kita menggunakan sampel Antarctica tu sendiri dan clean up Antarctica tu sendiri. Dan dia lebih bila kita buat kajian application ni lebih menarik minat saya lah untuk pergi ke Antarctica.
Okay, Dr. Hyo. Albatlokan you ada approach Kopri dan ada potensi dapat Kopri fellowship untuk akan datang. So nampak macam tak serik lah pergi Antarctica. So kenapa? Kenapa? Apa X factor ni? X factor yang menyebabkan you nak pergi lagi and nak continue.
Yes. Once you've been there, you'll be forever trapped in Antarctica. So the past I went to King Sejong Station. I have built up the network and then the collaboration with the Korean scientists. And then in this year, early this year, 2020, COPRI also offer the fellowship. This is what they call the Asian Polar Research Fellowship. And so I actually talked to my collaborator. I said that can we apply this because I have another idea to continue research on my sample that I collected. And then he said, why not? Let's try it. So we put in the proposal, and I'm very grateful this year I got the Asian Polar Research Fellowship from COPRI for 2020. However, due to the pandemic, so if we have to postpone our visit to Korea, perhaps next year. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Prof, satu soalan ya. Boleh share tak in the latest pandemic situation ni, adakah negara-negara luar, foreign country ni, our partner lah, our collaborator, dia continue tak expedition ataupun memang semua negara sekarang ni close their expedition, cancel their expedition?
Dia cut down lah.
Cut down.
For 20, I know Japan has cut down because one of the issue of ship travel is that kalau someone get COVID, go through the ship crew very fast. So they cut down to basic daripada wintering team saja apa semua. So this year memang limited lah. Bukan limited, tak ada.
Okay.
Kalau any foreign nak masuk tak boleh. So this year, so let's hope that by 2021 or 2022, it will open up balik. I think once the vaccine apa semua pakai, dia akan open up. And for your information, Antarctic is the only continent yang tak ada COVID. And I think they are trying to keep it that way lah.
So basically masih ada ekspedisi cuba terhad untuk negara tu je lah, dia tak ada.
Dan dia pun kerat. I mean,
okay.
Saintis dia pun tak boleh pergi.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Nak tambah ke Dr. Aklima, Dr. Hyo, macam mana collaborator masing-masing ada, dia cancel terus ke ataupun ada specific condition ke yang kena patuhi untuk akan datang? Dr. Aklima dulu.
Okay, collaborator saya ada yang collaborator yang SIMA memang kita tak pergi untuk tahun ni, tapi collaborator daripada Ideal dia pergi. Tapi dia cut number lah. So tahun ni dia hanya hantar student sahaja. Dan alhamdulillah collaboration masih berjalan dan pada tahun ni dia akan collectkan sampel lah untuk saya.
Oh, alright. Okay. Okay, Dr. Hyo.
Alright. From what I heard from my Korean collaborator, I think this year they will send a small numbers of scientists to King Sejong Station, but I think they are actually on the ship on the vessel, the Araon. After that, when they landed on Antarctica, collect sample, and then they need to go back to the vessel. They are not allowed to go into the station in Antarctica. I think this is the way they have tried to isolate between researchers.
Sedia pun SOP ya. Right, kalau macam tu, terima kasih panelis. Tak ada lagi soalan. Sekali lagi saya ucapkan.
Adi,
yes,
boleh saya tanya satu soalan?
Pada saya.
Pada Dr. Hyo.
Dr. Hyo, alright. Silakan Cik Asar.
Yes, Teacher Asar.
You mentioned earlier on that before you go to Antarctica, you have less idea about what kind of research you can do in Antarctica. Right. Now that you have been there, what is your view now?
I think this Antarctica is a magical land. I have to say that. Once you've been there, and then you mix with so many other researchers from different background, and then you talk to each other during the stay in Antarctica, and slowly you generate more and more ideas like how you can proceed with your research. And then when you make collaboration with other researchers from other background, then new research coming in. So this is how I realized the power of collaboration with each other. Yeah.
Right, great. Thank you Dr. Hyo. Ada soalan? Prof, ada nak komen ke? Ada soalan ke? Macam ada sesuatu.
Well, I think what Dr. Hyo kata is what is Antarctic about is international research. and global good research, which means that for Malaysian scientists is one of the best window for them to go into international collaboration, for them to work on international research of significant. Macam Aklima punya work, when you think about the application in coal area for what you call bioremediation, the market is big. You're not talking just about even though the market may not be in Malaysia because this coal remediation, but you can imagine the one going to be used in Russia, going to be used in US, apa semua. I mean, if Malaysian are able to break into coal bioremediation, I mean, we can, can you imagine her technology being applied in Alaska, apa semua? That is the sort of what you call think big that Antarctica allows you to do. And I think this is a good exposure, especially for younger scientists. And you must remember quite a lot of Antarctic punya research are all what you call nature publication research. That means they go into some of the top journal in the world, Science, Nature, and and this is also a good what you call exposure for our own Malaysian scientists to think about trying to solve global problem and not just I know national problem is important, but here you have a chance to also participate with other researchers who are trying to solve global problem, and this is a window that I think quite a lot of Malaysian scientists bring opportunities for them. Thank you.
Alright. Okay. Kalau tak ada soalan lagi, okay. Dengan itu berakhir sesi kita pada hari ini. Alright. Terima kasih sekali lagi kepada barisan panelis dan juga peserta-peserta yang hadir pada hari ini. Jadi peringatan untuk siapa yang minta bas, nak ke bas permohonan beribas, tarikh tutup 10 Disember. Betul dah Intan, 10 Disember. Dah tak lama dah lagi tu. Jadi yang lain-lain tu 31 Mac. Dan kalau ada apa-apa masalah dengan collaborator atau network, boleh hubungi pihak YPASM untuk kita bantu dari segi collaborator dan juga network. Okey, kalau ada juga yang universiti yang berminat untuk mengadakan specific session on Antarctic proposal ni, workshop ni, macam Prof Azizan mention semalam, Prof Azizan sendiri willing to datang ke universiti dan bantu dari segi workshop. Mungkin kita boleh adakan bersama universiti lah untuk mengumpulkan number sebelum kita mulakan kita proceed dengan workshop tu. Okey, itu saja daripada saya. Terima kasih, stay safe. Jumpa lagi pada sesi akan datang.
Okay, terima kasih.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Stay safe. Have a nice day.